everyone. Welcome to Meet the Light channel. We're streaming on a few different channels, natural energy healing. My name is Jen Smith. I'm a quantum healer, Reiki master, and I'll let Philip introduce himself as well and name the channels you're on as well, please.
Yeah, so I'm Philippe from Universal Truths. The brand's been going since the late 90s and been channeling information about the changes since then, here and there. Healer channel. I do all sorts. I have a list of stuff, things that I do. Too long to list, so I'm just me, right? Which is like,
Right. So we hopped on today. I got a message from Leap with all the energetic changes that were going on, and we thought we would get on together here today live and just discuss what's been happening lately. We may dive back a little bit into the later part of 24 and things that were happening then. Hopefully, this information may help some people as they're moving through this time.
yeah. I think maybe I think yourself, you're similar to me. You're quite intuitive at this level, but as you say, a lot of people might be confused. Certainly, a lot of confusion. Emotions may be all over the place, not understanding, not realizing, and really gathering why things are either feeling really blissful or really difficult. It could be either way. Um, but yeah, so personally, I found in the last, I would say, 3 weeks, suddenly things have intensified and been ramping up, and it just seems to be getting stronger and stronger. Um, so I wanted to hear from you, and it sounds like you're experiencing similar things, right?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I experience, I have probably the last 3 or 4 months, a lot of different activations happening. For this month in February, February 12th, that was the date whenever there was a huge activation. And it seems for me, for my life, there's a lot of uh, energetic happenings and activations for me around the full moon, the alchemical full moon. And that's through meditations and becoming aware and really feeling into what's happening. So when did you start noticing like a big surge of energy?
As I said, I've had a feeling since mid-December that something was off, because all of a sudden I started to feel a low-grade anxiety, which is not usual for me any longer. I managed to ditch anxiety around 2017, where I managed to find balance, and so I wasn't used to that, although familiar with it. It wasn't part of my world, and suddenly this just turned up, and I was a bit worried. I thought, am I regressing or what's going on? And I didn't understand at first. I wasn't too concerned, but I was in a way wondering what was going on. And then after Christmas, I had a second bout of this issue. But fortunately, at the same time, I managed to get the equivalent insight, so I could understand what was happening. And turns out what was happening is that in mid-December, we had this reality split where the souls that have chosen to remain on this current path are staying on this path, and those that have chosen to choose the path of ascension are going on a separate path. And what I was experiencing was this split, and at the time I didn't realize what it was, and the anxiety and low grade sort of mild depression was actually a more eventually identified as loss, feeling loss. It was actually loss. The ego was losing. So that the old way, the old familiar way was moving away, and that was that low grade loss, like when you lose a loved one, that loss feeling. It was a bit like that. It was only towards the end of December that I realized that, oh wow, I was actually experiencing, or the ego was experiencing, that feeling of loss of the old ways, because apparently I was now on this other pathway, which isn't or wasn't quite established fully, but the difference was quite apparent. So that's when I started to feel that. And then January became more subdued and quieter. And then, as I say, in the last 3 weeks, suddenly things have really ramped up. So it's like, wow, now things are really moving.
Yeah. So you talk about the split, and I can tell you it was November timeframe. I journal everything, so you could go back and look at the date. But I saw the visions of that, and what came to me was the colors mean things to me. I don't know if it would mean things to other people, but it was like a split of, it was showing me pink, and it was showing me like an earth, pink and blue is what it was showing me in my visions. And I didn't really know exactly what that meant at the time. But later on in another meditation, what I journaled was what I was seeing was energy. And the message to me was you have to keep up with the energy. You have to keep up with it. And so to me, that meant meditations. My December time frame, because I was really relaxed, I drew back from work a little bit and really concentrated on just doing joyful things during the day. And because I was getting ready for Christmas and just really uh, laying a little bit lower and really nurturing what would make me happy and at ease. And so that time frame seemed to be really, really good. High vibrations. What I was experiencing was, whenever I'd wake up, would be a lot of heat in my hands and my feet, a lot of heat, more than usual. Um, and then, yeah, so that takes us into 25 and where we're at now. I did want to say one more thing. Whenever you were talking about the anxiety, there was one day that I wrote in my journal where I woke up and I had a little bit of that anxiety, which I don't get. I did, at the beginning of my journey, and in order to compensate for that, or to overcome that, or to transmute that sort of feeling, I did a lot of breath work. So I just pulled in the tools for that. So I was pulling in some tools from prior that I used to use, and that seemed to calm all of those emotions.
Yeah, it's weird, as you say, you went back to the tools, and although we obviously have similar tools, but I didn't bother doing that. I was just in that moment, and I thought, just experience what's happening. I was trying to identify the source and the root cause, and so I was staying away from the tools, and I was more in an observation mode, if that makes sense, as opposed to actually doing something about it. So that was a bit strange, but I think everybody, from what I've been seeing, is that a lot of people have been having similar experiences across, like you say, November, December into January. So there was definitely that period where this apparent split was happening. But now going into February, things started to change, and end of the first week of February, I started to have dreams where I don't normally dream. And if I have dreams, they tend to be lucid dreams or astral projections. And I started to have dreams where relatives were turning up from earlier in life, and friends and people that I've known in my working life. And I was like, this is weird. Why is this happening? But I found that I was actually helping these people in this dream state. So I thought, aha, okay, I see what's happening. They've turned up, and obviously they're needing some assistance. So just took it at that face value. And that was sort of the onset into that. And then into the second and third week, suddenly I started to get the frequency. Actually, while we were talking, I can hear a high-pitched frequency you get with the auric upgrades. It's been there now constantly for the last week, I'd say. I wake up in the morning and there's just this loud pitch, and you get this crackle. It's so loud that it feels like your being is actually crackling like a crisp packet that you're squashing like a crunchy. So it's really, really dense and really, really strong, which is okay. It started for me after my second awakening back in 2017, where I would get these sonic tunes, tones, symphonies, and I was led to believe that they are, when the aura integrates the new frequencies, this is when you start to hear the tones, because the aura is changing and changing frequency, accepting new frequencies, and that's what you can hear. So it was to know that, understand that, and you can say, okay, I don't have to worry, I'm not going crazy. It's just a process, right?
It's the process, yeah. And I've got the tones and it's like a music playing, but just in a short amount of times. What I've experienced for a long time is there's a higher frequency that's just in the background, so it's not disturbing to me. It's just an awareness that I know it's there. In fact, I like that it's there because I know that it's on the higher frequency.
Yeah, something that I found that I was really interested to hear your perspective on, and this is really, really different to anything I've ever known before, is that when I first started practicing and looking at using my third eye, I had to find like a focal length that you would have on a camera. You have to focus in on the right, let's call it distance from your forehead.
Yes.
To find that focal point where suddenly you can access, and it opens like a camera lens, doesn't it? For me, it opens like a camera lens. And it, in the beginning, was a bit difficult to maintain that. It was like a challenge. And in the last week or 10 days, this is what's been really different, is that I find myself, I can get straight there, straight away, but I'm in this doldrum. I'm in the in-between phase, where I haven't gone through to the other side, but I'm not here. I'm in between. And what's really strange is that I get this warm feeling, like, I don't know if you've ever experienced the feeling of peace when peace arrives, and you get this the energy becomes warm. That makes sense to you?
It sure does.
So I get that feeling. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I'm here, and it's just cool just to be in this place where it's not pitch black dark like when you go outside creation, when you get into the void, where it's actually completely pitch black. It's more of a lighter version of that, but then you get that peaceful warmth with it. So it's that zone now, which I'm finding, which is like when I try and go into meditation, boom, that's where I end up. And the thought keeps coming. Okay, so now we are in the phase where we are ready to move awareness across. So moving awareness, and this is the puzzle, is, are we moving awareness from the physical into the light body, or are we bringing the awareness from the light body into the physical and merging that way? Because I've managed to do that in the past using the Kundalini energy, moving from the physical awareness into the light body awareness. So I know what that is, but this feels different. This feels like, is it that way, or is it this way? Or is that process bringing the high self down into the physical, or is it bringing the awareness up to the light body, to the higher self perspectives. So I'm sort of in that zone at the moment. Can you relate to that?
Well, a few things that you said, that really finding that zone, that focal point. I would say whenever I try to help people out, I always explain it as about like about 7 to 8 inches. You focusing on that focal point. Um, One thing that's through the third eye, but we also have the star consciousness. So focusing it more through that area, um, because that will give you a more expansive view of the universe in that way. I can relate to that because I do that quite often, but I can also relate to what you're saying, where you just relax your eyes and not so much focus on that focal point, but it's just like it's just right there, right? It's just you're in that state. Um, I've always thought of it as, anchoring everything into our body. So, what I've noticed that I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and this is probably more so some techniques I learned through reading the book, The Power of Now, is really being present, but extending your aura so you're more on the outside. And that seems to bring in a lot of magical things. Even more on the earth plane, it's almost as if that's where all the manifestation and the divine timing happens with people, places, things. So I don't know if that correlates to what you might be experiencing.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like exactly the same thing. What I have noticed as well is in the last 3 or 4 days is, and as we're talking now, I can feel the top of my head is just going, that my third eye seems to have merged with my crown. It's one mass of this, the magnetic force that you feel. It's
Mhm.
from here. It's this one mass of energy, and then it pulls the throat. It pulls it in and tends to join them together. So you end up with the top three being one unit, as it were, basically. So that's what I've been experiencing in the last few days. So it's different to, as I say, in the past, I've experienced moving awareness from the physical with the Kundalini energy, tuning the physical body, and then eventually after that, tuning the light body. And in tuning the light body frequency, moving my awareness into the light body, and you can really feel the difference. But this is not the same thing. I'm like, right, so this is new territory, right? This is
Mhm.
now unknown. So that's why I'm asking the question to see if you have any insight, with that. But yeah, it's exciting. It's all changing. It feels like we're on the precipice of something is just around the corner, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's going to be an exciting year. Um, I would say you're talking about this upper area. What I've been experiencing the last couple weeks, and it has happened throughout the last couple years, but more so often now, is really that heart space just igniting like another, and it's really, really warm when that happens, like just the whole area, almost to the point of being like really hot, and just saying, okay, trust the process. Um,
Yeah.
but that's what I've been experiencing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I one thing I did find, which I thought was quite interesting, and this is going, as you said, going over the last few years, is that some doctrines would say that you activate the base and then this energy center and this energy center, and I found that none of that was true with myself. It didn't happen in any particular sequence. It wasn't in any particular format. For me, it
Mhm.
started off, my early awakening was with my throat first, and then my base, and then it changed, moved up to my heart and throat and eye, third eye. So there was no particular order, to the activation. And the very
Mhm.
last one, surprisingly, was actually the sacral,
Okay.
which you would think would have been the second one, right? But it wasn't. It was the sacral,
Mhm.
was sort of the last one that I was doing the work on, the last. So that was quite a strange
That's your
thing.
creation center.
Yeah. And you would think that with the channeling and stuff, and I thought I wouldn't struggle with that. I don't know if it's too much to do with creation, but maybe to do with instinctively, I think more the sexual relationship aspect. That energy was
Mhm.
more balanced because of my early childhood experiences. I think that was suppressed and that had to be released after the solar plexus, which you think would be the other way around with the empowerment of the solar plexus. But apparently, for me, it was that way. So, saying to someone, it's going to happen like this, and this is actually, don't even bother saying that because nobody's going to be the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go back and trace exactly how everything happened because probably at the time I didn't really know as much as what I know now.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely those lower three chakras in the physical world mean something, but once you start ascension, they have different meanings. They have a different presence to them. So that sacral chakra, what you talked about, is true, but in the ascension sense, whenever that anchors, it's all about creation, like we're here to, create and manifest our world.
That makes sense. And what you're saying is that I didn't think of it as two separate, operating in two
Mhm.
separate dimensions. I never really
Yeah,
thought of that. That's interesting. That
yeah.
maybe that's what that is then.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and with the heart space, anchoring in that heart space, whenever you can relax in those lower three chakras, you're not worrying and stressed, you're not fearful. You anchor in your heart space, and I feel like that's what that ignition is that I'm experiencing and have experienced a few other times as well. But then you have the galactic chakras all the way up. That's where the 12 chakras are, beginning with your heart space is number one and all the way up. So maybe what you're describing is something there.
Maybe I don't know. It again, it's something that I haven't actually dealt with at that level. I
Mhm.
tend to be more I think my engineer's brain gets in the way. It tends to analyze everything that's happening in the physical, right? And that has that connection. So maybe
Yeah.
that's my Achilles heel. I don't know. That's yet to be revealed. So, but that's interesting aspect, which is something that I've never really considered. So yeah, it's something I need to, consider, think about.
You touched upon something because we both have a more of an engineering background, and I was thinking about this earlier this morning that having those going from an intellectually successful life and then moving into a spiritually successful life, it requires a lot more patience and trusting and not so much analyzing, right? We have to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah. Well, that's I think the beauty of it, and actually, I think we can pat ourselves on the back, both of us, is that our left and right brain aspect is actually well developed because we have
Mhm.
found that balance, right? We managed to incorporate. I remember when I first started teaching meditation. At the time, I was working as a commercial pilot, and people were saying, "So hang on a minute, how can you be a pilot and be teaching meditation? That shouldn't work. That shouldn't be
Mhm.
working, right? It shouldn't happen." But at the time, apparently, that process or that balancing process already was initiated. So yeah, I think we can both pat ourselves on the back that we've managed to find that level of balance. And as you say, the connection is the patience, right? Patience with
Yes.
the one side
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
develop the other side.
Yeah. I would say the other big things that I've been noticing is a lot of the pink, I call it the pink energies. because that's what I experience in the other dimensions and the meditations is a lot of geometric shapes. They feel like attunements, pink geometrics. And I think that's part of the feminine energy that's anchoring in that helps us with manifestation, keeping that balance. So that's been a big one.
Yeah.
That's been a theme for the last 6 months for me.
You mentioned something when you messaged me about the Egyptian healing rods.
Oh yeah, I've got them right here.
You were
Yeah.
busy. I don't know if you found something with that, and because I actually I decided to, I had this urge to do some channeling, and I ended up channeling Thoth once again. He came through and was saying that nothing needs to be done at the moment. We should
Nothing needs to be done.
just be in observation.
Mhm.
Nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be, for us engineers, nothing needs to be diagnosed. You just need to be, right? That was the message. I was like, whoa, okay, thanks for that. So that was quite interesting because the way, if you look around you, you know, a lot of people everybody's trying to work out what's going on, and with these energy shifts and the issues with, the earthquakes and the potential volcanic activity in the Mediterranean, etc. So there's a lot of things are ramping up. So I think for us engineers, like, oh, I need to find out why and how and all those things, right? And I was told, no, you don't need to do anything. You just need to be. So yeah, and it's ramping up quite nicely for my little trip next week. I'm really excited because I think it looks like I've timed it at the right time, right? It looks like it's going to be quite intense. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, good. Yeah, I want to hear all about it. I want to hear what your experiences are in Egypt.
I'm going to try and create a bit of a video vlog type thing. I'm going to do some experimenting. I'm taking my meditation mat and I'm going to meditate on all the corners of the pyramids and feel the energies, and then inside, and I'm going to measure. I've got my compass. I'm going to measure magnetic fields to see if there's any variations from different angles. So I'm going to do quite a bit of technical engineering stuff.
Yeah, but that's all fun too. That's all fun too.
But yeah, no, and obviously I visit both the museums. I believe the new one is quite impressive. So yeah, I'm going to check that out as well.
And when you're in Egypt, notice the statues that you see because you'll see all the pharaohs holding the little cylinders, these Egyptian healing rods. And this was part of the ascension process. So this is older technology, which has resurfaced back on our planet to help us with the ascension process because it really helps keep all of our chakras open and helps us lift. They're fascinating.
Yeah, so I'll be keeping my eyes and ears widely open.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big research session. It's going to be one of those once in a lifetime deals. And hopefully, I'm going to have enough information and making enough connections because I'm going to be trying to network as much as I can, so that later on I can take some groups out there, and then
I would love to visit.
they can know what to expect because of the research I've done. So very exciting.
It is exciting. I'm really drawn to the Egyptian culture and what they did. That's why I have the Egyptian healing rods. And
how did you end up in that world, should I say? What brought you to
it? What drew me to it was whenever I was beginning my, learning Reiki and energy healing, I had these big ideas about technologies and how it could work. And I saw that healers could go to the pyramids. They wanted like 20 people to go as a spiritual group. So I decided that was my time to go because I thought it was work with the ley lines. Really interested in the ley lines as well. And then working with that group, I got introduced to the Egyptian healing rods, and I use those. They're fantastic for healers because it really increases your vibration and get your energy field really really clean, channeling and very clean energy. Yeah, but even prior to work, a lot of healers use those. So
Yeah, I've got two crystals that I actually got in Zambia when I was on contract work.
mm-hmm.
These little kiddies would come up to us white folk and bring us all these different crystals and things, and obviously, to sell them. And I've got these two really nice crystals. I've got one's disappeared, but I've got one left. I'll show you. So it's this one.
Yeah, that's
I had
nice.
another one which was slightly more chunky, and when I was doing healing sessions, I would actually use them as a focal point to do like micro surgery on small areas to
Mhm.
really focus the energy. So that's predominantly what I use them for. That energy work to really
Mhm.
focus the energy. But
Very nice.
yeah, so yeah, exciting stuff. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, right? Anything over the last few days? I tell you what's been happening to me over the last few days is really getting woke up early in the morning. So whenever that happens, I just get up and um, you know see what do I need to do. I journal a lot, see what comes through.
Yeah, yeah. The last 2 weeks, my sleep patterns have been, and I recognize the pattern because I've had it for the last few years. Towards the end of the day, like 4, 5 o'clock, suddenly I'll just get really, really tired.
Hmm.
So I just realize, okay, just switch off, go to sleep. So I go to sleep for an hour and wake up again. When that happens, I know, okay, right, okay, so we've had energy influx. This is what's caused me to shut down. And then tonight's going to be the integration where the aura actually integrates this new frequency.
Hmm.
Guaranteed, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, ding, I'll be up like a rabbit,
Yes.
wide awake, no chance of sleeping all the way to 6 o'clock in the morning,
Mhm.
eventually crashing back to sleep for like an hour or two, and then waking up absolutely fine. Felt like I had been sleeping.
Yeah.
But it's just mentally, right? Mentally, you say, I should be sleeping, and we stress ourselves because
Mhm.
we believe we should be sleeping, but so much energy, your body's actually fine. So in the last 2 weeks, it's been like that. It's been up and down. So yeah, it's one of those phases again. So we just accept.
Yeah, I don't worry too much about the sleep patterns anymore. Um, and I feel like that whenever we wake up in the morning like that, early in the morning, I always make sure that I just get up because to me, we're like anchoring in this energy and we need to be in their physical presence um, to do that. So
How have
instead
you,
of, going back to sleep.
how have you been feeling with food and things like that?
Well, I've been on a pretty strict diet for a long time. I decided to just eat vegetables and fruits and, you know, so I don't have any issues with it, but I have heard other people talk about it. Like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that last night. So
Yeah, no, I'm not.
people
I'm
need to
not.
listen to their bodies and see what's affecting them and start, going towards the foods that are that are making them feel good and not the heavier foods.
Yeah, I'm talking more on the level of do I really need
Do you really
that
need what?
to eat?
Oh,
Because I've had this nagging energy for quite a few years now, um, and I thought, hmm. So I understand the process of the conversion of into light energy, the food processing. by the physical body, but we can actually do that with energy, right? We don't actually need that process, that physical process. You can actually use the energetic process to bring the light energy to the cells in the same way that the food does, just through a different channel. And that's been nagging me for a long time. But over the last year, I found, especially now that it's gotten colder, because I was eating green all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the last few months, since it's gotten colder, I've been pulled away more towards like rice and pasta and things like that. I'm thinking, should I be eating that? And then I just whatever. Apparently, I need this carb energy for some reason. When the last few years before that, I was completely, beans, peas, sprouts, salads, all the green stuff. But that's changed, but it still get this nagging. We don't really need food. We don't really need food. And it's like this phase where I know, deep down, I know we don't, but I know that I'm not ready to quit that. I'm not ready to change. It will happen. I feel it will happen. But I'm trying not to stress and force it, because if you force it, it doesn't stick, does it? You end up relapsing back if you try and force it too quickly. So have you had something like that?
I eat rice and pastas and things like that as well. I always have. I have not had the urge to move away from what I'm doing now. I haven't really even thought about it. I don't even think I don't really want to at this point, because I feel like, do we need it? No, but our physical bodies need the nutrition to keep going. That's how I feel about it right now.
Yeah, and for me, that's where that nagging. I could be doing this another way.
Mm-hmm.
Could be, and what one of the teachings that Thoth has is that for an hour in the day, you should be lying with your head to the north and cycling energy through the head to the heart center. And then for an hour in the day, you should have your head to the south, and then cycling through from the base up to the heart center. And this is supposed to regenerate and feed and nourish the body. So I've got these ideas, and I've got these feelings, but I'm not ready, and it's sort of this weird place, right? But apparently
we can experiment. You're an engineer. We like to experiment, so you can experiment with that. When did those channelings come through for you?
The last 18 months or so.
Okay.
About that energy. You can actually read it if you get the Emerald Tablets, the book. It's that information is actually in there. It's written in a way that it's like encrypted. So you have to, and the whole point of the teachings is what he says is that if you can understand it, then you can apply it.
I see.
And then you are ready for the application.
Mm-hmm.
And with the teaching, with the coursework that I teach is I was told I should make it as difficult as possible, so that only the true seekers will be able to harness the energy. That's when I start the course, I ask two questions. I ask, can you work with truth? And that's sort of like, whoa, alarm bells. So I ask questions like that just to see, and whether the person says yes or no, it's entirely up to them. But then they'll go away, and if they come back, then if they don't come back, I'm like, okay, yeah, I got the answer, right? So it's like this filtering system in a couple of questions around that to ask about that. But yeah, it's supposed to be difficult, so only the true seekers will be will take on and will be ready to accept the information. Because apparently this is why Atlantis failed in the first place, because it was too easy. And the information was used for the wrong reasons. And the consciousness was pulled downwards instead of upwards. And that's why it failed. That's why they said, no, start again, boom, wipe the slate clean. And so apparently now this is why they need to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a certain level of awareness before you're ready to actually integrate that knowledge. So it's like that. I only started becoming fully aware of that level about 2017, 18. Before that, I was teaching stuff that I channeled. It was the same stuff, but I didn't know what it was. And it's only once I started connecting to that energy source that it became highlighted. I was like, whoa, this stuff was being taught 10,000 years ago. That was a big, oh my God, moment.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't change anything, but it was just like suddenly responsibility was like, whoa, this is big stuff, right? But yeah. So yes, it's been a bit like that, but it's a very gentle connection. It's, it's not like big booming stuff. And
Yeah, and I think you have to be serious about it, but it doesn't have to be difficult. I think if people just stay persistent with some, some practices, some mindfulness, some meditations, they can do it. I know that I've been
yeah,
very serious and persistent over the last 4 years,
maybe
but
difficult is the wrong word. Maybe more of the level of integrity has to be in the right place. Maybe
that's good.
that's more accurate.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes more sense, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You'll understand it. I remember years ago, I bought a book called Open Secret. It's about the Tao, and it's about the philosophy of the Tao. So it's Wu Wei, Wu Wei, which is doing without doing. So I got this book, and I opened it up and I started reading. I was like, first few pages, wow, just couldn't make heads or tail of it. So my brain went into that cotton wool, that cotton wool mode where you just can't comprehend.
Yeah.
So I just tossed it aside for 4 or 5 years. And then one day I was like, oh, there's that book. So I picked it up and I was like, wow, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. Suddenly it just went straight through it. I was like, okay, I get it. Then I put it down. And there's 2 years later.
I think that's amazing how books are like that, because I've experienced that a few times where you would read something, it's like, it's not making that much sense to me, but then put it away, continue to learn, continue to observe, and then come back to it later. And then it's like, oh, this is what it means. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a few years later, I thought, oh, I might read that again because I feel like, when you pick up a book a second time, you find new things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, let me grab this book and check it out. So I read the beginning. And at the beginning of the book, there's a chapter where the author says a few things and he says a few quotes. And then after that, he says, if you've understood this, then you don't need to read the book. I was like, damn. Damn. Let's read. I just, oh no, okay, I'm obviously not meant to be, because I get it. Well, I don't need to read the book. But yeah, I'm sure I'll read it again anyway.
Yeah. I think that's a good note for people, because I've mentioned books to people before and they're like, oh, I read that 20 years ago. And I just think, well, if you read it again now, it could have a whole new meaning to you, because it's not that the book changes, but our level of awareness keeps increasing. And then when we read those words again, it means so much more.
Saka, did you ever read A Course in Miracles?
I haven't read that yet. Mm-mm.
it's about that thick. It's a very intimidating looking book. It's all about atonement, and it's about, yeah, I think if you read it now, it'd probably make perfect sense. But it was one of those books up when I picked it up. I was in contract in Canada at the time, and I picked it up at the same time as I picked up the book by Neil Donald Walsh at Conversations with God. Have you read that one?
I have not.
Wow, that was my mini Bible for like 4 or 5 years. Such an amazing book. So basic, but it's one of those you can open it anywhere, and it's just like, whoa, all this information. But
Mhm.
Course in Miracles was the same thing, but more technical and big, and more sort of a religious connotation, more a Christian connotation to it
Mhm.
than the other stuff. But yeah, all those books. I like the stuff, the stuff from Crown as well. I don't know if you've read some of that stuff. It was pretty good as well. Back in the
I have
90s.
not. No, you just mentioned a lot of good books there. That's good. Um, the book that I read that was pretty meaningful to me over the last year or so was, and I had to read it because there was a couple friends that mentioned it to me, and it was people that I had met. So they would email me, and then a friend actually mailed me the book, and I thought, well, I guess I need to read this because it keeps coming up. But it was the Sophia Code, because there are so many live transmissions that you get from that book. It's really
Okay,
phenomenal. Yeah.
cool. So, what are your sort of feelings about the next few months, or what's going to happen energetically? Have you had any premonitions or feelings as to, apart from getting more intense, anything specific you've come across?
I don't have anything specific. I think people just need to, for me, I just kind of relax and take it day by day. And it's exciting for me because so much new things come in, and the energies and the visions, but nothing like long term on futuristic of what's going to happen. I think it's more of we just need to be, we just need to be. There's not a lot to do. Just keep bringing in the frequencies, anchoring in the light, and just be, and to be available for people if they have, if they have questions, which is what we're trying to do. If people have questions, we're available here to help and to answer and to get people through this because it's exciting. It can be really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. I think for me, probably similar to yourself, not looking too far ahead, um, but quite excited about the trip to Egypt, because I'm hoping it's going to open up a new level of awareness, which will be amazing, to get
Mhm.
that. Um, it feels like the right time. It feels like the way the energies are at the moment. It feels like, yeah, I should get something out of it, something
Oh yeah,
important.
I think you will.
So, but past that, I'm not really. It's just as you say, just being,
Mhm.
in the moment, observing some of the chaos going on around the world, and I mean, it's not that I feel affected by it, but it's interesting to see how the fear is being pushed up to the surface almost globally now, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I feel like we went through this about 4 years ago as well. And I was paying a lot more attention then. This time around, I'm not giving much of my attention at all of what's happening. Of course, I'm out in the world, so I hear some things, but um, for me, I just stay on the focused on what I want to be focused on, and really just being. It's easier for me that way to have that more pure channel and energy, and not so much in my head.
Yeah. I mean, my engineer brain still struggles to stay out of the way. Looking at, I stumbled across a channel of it. I think he's an American chap, or might be Canadian, a geophysicist who's been talking about. He's quite spiritual as well, and he talks about energy, and he talks about very knowledgeable geophysicist, and he's been talking about sunspots and how the sun's been changing and stuff, which I can completely relate to, which is the information I got, that the sun generates the general frequency that affects all the celestial bodies, which in turn affect us. And he's been talking about the Earth's, how it's reacting to the solar energies, and how it's reacting to, in the last few days, we've had 7 planets line up, which is quite unusual. So you're getting that. And I actually forgotten that although we get tides because of the sun and the moon, we also get, those are ocean tides, we also get earth tides. The ground of the earth actually moves about 10 inches and up to 20 inches at its highest peak. So the ground moves with the tides as well. We don't actually notice it because it's a gradual build-up. And, as the sun and the moon orbit around us. So this flexing of the crust and the shifting in the energy changes is what's causing the tectonic plates to push. This is what's happening in the Mediterranean. African plates pushing up against the European plate, and this is what's causing the issue around the Greek islands and Italy, close to Vesuvius, is getting active, and so things are happening. The Earth is flexing its muscles.
I had journaled at one time to pay attention to where these natural occurrences are happening, because it has to do with the ley lines. And I remember I was trying to watch out for that several years ago and didn't see much. So it sounds like it's happening now based on what you said. But the earth is a living consciousness as well. So the earth is ascending, which means that also cleansing. So that's why we're seeing these things happen. So on the surface, when we're looking at just a specific event, people may think, that it's not good, but in the long run, it's a cleansing process. So, for people not to be too overly worried, that in the end, it all makes sense.
Yeah. It's the Earth's flexing its muscles and adjusting its frequency, etc. And we're just seeing that effect around us. So that's quite interesting. I like to follow that for that technical aspect. As far as people fighting and those things, I mean, that's going to happen because of needs to be cleared out, right? That latent fear energy that's been locked away for so long, it needs to come out. So it's going to be tricky for a while, especially this year. But I think it's going to, once that's out the way, then it's going to be smooth sailing. But
I think so too.
Yeah, intention, integrity, maintaining integrity, setting our intentions. I think for people like yourself, myself, I think our intention is pretty obvious. What we are, which direction we want to go into, which direction we're going to go into. But hopefully, as you say, helping others around us to understand, so that they don't end up being fearful about the changes.
Right. Yep. Very good. That's what we're here. That's why we're doing the work that we're doing, right? Is to help people.
Absolutely.
To be here if they're ready to ask questions, and if not, that's okay too. Everybody has their own choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're coming up to the end of our time, are we? I haven't actually noticed how long we've been going.
Anything else that you would like to say before we end the stream here?
No, I think covered pretty much everything that needs to be said. I think perhaps if I've got some good news after next week, then we can have another chat and talk about that. Hopefully there will be.
Yeah, about your Egypt trip. Yeah, I would love to. Want to see how that goes for you. It'll be phenomenal.
And also, I'm thinking of when the weather improves here in the UK, I'm going to go and investigate the ley lines, sort of Glastonbury and Stonehenge area. Go and check that out and go and test the soil, as it were, and see
Yeah.
what I can pick up from there, and go from there. I saw a video of Mount Shasta. I didn't realize it was all the way at the top of California,
Mhm.
right up just below Canada. Yeah. You still planning on having a trip up there?
I have never been to Mount Shasta, so but I would love to go sometime.
Didn't you say you were going to visit a friend up that way?
No, I'm for the equinox. I'm going to help a friend. She does ceremonies, and so I'll be going out to Palm Springs, California.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking
Excellent.
forward to it. All right.
So,
Well, until
right.
next time.
Amazing.
All right.
Have a good day. I'll see you
Yeah,
soon.
you too.